Warning, this episode deals a lot with violent death. Listener discretion is advised.
Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all the storytelling, world building, and characters of video games. Because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep, and this is episode 53.
Woohoo! So we're officially over 2 years of podcasting together. Yay!
Yeah, but before we get into the episode, as always, if you'd like to contact us, you can do that on Twitter at Lore Together, on Instagram at Lore Together, and through email at loretogether@gmail.com. And if you like this show and want to support us, and we hope you do,
we really hope
the show
so.
At least.
Yeah, we really hope you like
You can
us.
do that over on patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to episodes, mini episodes, as well as Q&As.
Also, if you wouldn't mind, you can rate us not only now on Apple Podcasts, but Spotify as well. So please rate and review. We hope you like us. We're hoping for 5 stars. We'd like to think that we've earned it.
Okay, so episode 53. Have you heard of the game Return of the Obra Dinn?
Oh my gosh. No, I have not. That is an intense title. What is this thing?
2018 game.
2018 with a title that outlandish?
It's a game by Lucas Pope, the creator of Papers, Please.
Ah, so we're going back to indie games. Nice.
Yes. It is a 2-color game, and it's a first-person game.
Is it in black and white?
Or green and black, or there's multiple different color modes, but they're all based off of that really, really old monochrome look from like the late 80s era. Yeah.
I feel like after having played Papers, Please, which actually that was a public live stream?
Yes.
If you want to go to our YouTube channel, you should be able to see that. That design was pretty straightforward and nicey despite having a very much two-dimensional look.
Mm-hmm.
So I could totally see Pope pulling this off.
We're going to do a little bit of summary, and then we're going to go through a breakdown of the game.
Okay.
This game actually has a good wiki also.
Yay! Props to the wiki and the fans who curate it. Thank you.
So in 1802, the Obra Dinn launches from London with a full crew, passengers, and 200 tons of goods bound for the Orient.
Oh, the very problematic phrase of the Orient.
There's going to be more problematic phrases. It's okay. It's of the era.
Yeah, it's 1802. Yeah, it's hard to escape things like that.
6 months later, it's lost at sea.
Okay.
Or presumed lost at sea.
Oh, because it did not get to port within the reasonable time frame? Okay.
Then in 1807, it drifts back into port with sails damaged and no visible crew on board.
So back to the same port or to its
Different port.
destination?
So it came out of London, probably went down the Thames, and then made a few stops along the coast, and then went out to sea.
Okay.
This is returning to Falmouth, which is near the southwestern tip of England, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. You play as an insurance adjuster for the East India Company.
Okay.
And you must board the ship and uncover what happened to the Obra Dinn. Now, we're going to cover this in chronological order from the time the ship launches. But the game doesn't present it in chronological order. You kind of uncover it in bits and pieces as you go.
Interesting. Okay.
Also, this is a surprisingly fantastical story, so keep that in mind.
I had a feeling it would be.
In the tradition of sailor and pirate tales akin to the surreal and fantastical nature of Pirates of the Caribbean. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's ghosts, possibly. Curses, treasures.
We'll get there. Nothing quite to that point, but
Hearts kept in lockers.
that type of weirdness, but not that specific weirdness.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of names here. We have 60 characters in this game. Just going to have to go with the flow because we can't get into all of them.
Oh my gosh, so many nouns. Why are you giving me so many nouns?
Most of them, honestly, are just person blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not going to be a huge deal. Just kind of remember the broad strokes of what's going on, and you'll be fine for the most part, I feel.
Okay. I will remember the broad strokes like a Monet painting.
As Inspector, we are given 2 things as we board the ship. A book to record our findings and a pocket watch called the Memento Morte.
Okay, so the memory of death?
Close. Remember death. Yeah.
Okay.
Both of which we received from Henry Evans, a former ship's doctor on the Obra Dinn. We'll get to him later.
Yeah, I was going to say, why does he have a remembered death? Wait, he's a doctor? And he has a remembered death clock.
Yeah.
All right.
And the pocket watch is how we will uncover what happened. Using this, we can see how someone died.
Okay.
And it doesn't even have to be a full body. Any remains will allow us to use the watch to see how that figure died.
The amazing tech of blood spatter evidence would just be revolutionized with such a tech.
So we'll start in the beginning. In 1802, the Obra Dinn launches from London with a full crew and some passengers, including 4 Formosans. And I'm going to apologize for all my name pronunciations here for the most part, because
Formosans?
Formosan people, Taiwanese indigenous peoples.
Taiwanese indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Haven't heard of this subset of Taiwanese people before, so my apologies.
I believe it was I think they're around 2% of the population in Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah. So I apologize for my name pronunciations. I'll do my best, but I am not a native speaker.
We wouldn't know anyway. Sorry.
It Bing Sea, Bun Lan Lim, and guards Chiotan and Hokseng Lao. And we start with Chapter 1, Loose Cargo. The Obra Dinn is in Falmouth, taking on cargo under the supervision of the Danish seaman Lars Linde. And that's what I mean when it left London and made a couple stops. This is...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rope carrying the cargo snaps, and the pallet crushes another seaman, Samuel Peters.
Wow.
Unbeknownst to the crew, there is a stowaway hiding inside one of the barrels. The stowaway also dies when the barrel hits the deck.
Oh,
There's a lot of death in this.
Something happening in the 1800s during mercantilism. Yes, I would imagine there is a lot of death.
Not only that, but the only thing we have to uncover what happened is by seeing how someone died.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 2, A Bitter Cold.
Okay.
As the Obra Dinn sails by the coast of Portugal, 2 Indian seamen, Solomon Sayed and Renfred Rajub, succumb to a fatal lung disease, which they may have contracted in a Lascar house.
Ooh.
A Lascar, by the way, was a sailor or a militiaman from the Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, the Arab world, British Somaliland, or other land east of the Cape of Good Hope.
Too broad of a range of different kinds of people for my comfort. Just going to say that out loud. Somebody who's Somalian does not have the same culture as somebody who's from Pakistan, India area, who's also not going to be...
Or other land east of the Cape of Good Hope.
Right. What? So we're talking about the African Horn now? Are we talking about, is this including, some of the Arab countries that are kind of like off the coast? I can't deal with this.
The term is no longer used. It kind of went out of date in the middle of the 20th century.
Not surprised. Not surprised at all.
Chapter 3, Murder.
Murder.
Yeah, these chapters get longer as we go because more stuff happens in them.
That makes sense.
When the ship passes by the Canary Islands, second mate Edward Nichols slips on into the cargo hold. He knocks a guard, Hokseng Lao, unconscious, and breaks into the room containing the Formosan chest. This is kind of like a artifact of import in the story. It's a MacGuffin. We don't know. We know that it contains things, but the things it contains, we don't know what they really do.
Is this like the suitcase in Pulp Fiction? Not
really. It's a MacGuffin, but it has some effects on some people beyond just wanting it.
Okay. All right. I just figured it was a good place to start.
As Nichols is about to take the shell inside the chest, basically opens the chest, there's a shell in there, like a seashell.
Like a huge seashell?
Yeah, bigger than your hand.
So basically, hopefully the biggest hermit crab's in there is going to pinch off his fingers like...
An Italian passenger, Nunzio Pasca, wanders into the cargo hold and catches him in the act. His theft thwarted, Nichols kills Pasca to cover his crimes. It is implied that Nichols gets top man Li Hong to intentionally mistranslate Lau's description of the incident as a confession, framing him for the murder.
Interesting.
Sometime later, Captain Robert Whittrell sentences Lau to death by firing line.
Ugh.
The Formosans protest Lau's execution, but to no avail. Meanwhile, Edward Spratt, the ship's artist, draws the execution scene. There is artwork in the game. So
okay.
After the execution, Nichols organizes several seamen to help him steal the chest and abduct 2 of the Formosans.
Abduct them?
In In the course of this escape, they attack several other crewmen. One topman, Timothy Boutement.
I was really hoping you were saying Timothy Chalamet so I could like just pretend that there was an actor that was in this, but no, it's fine.
Is shot dead as he attempts to stop the group.
Oh,
so we
man.
have basically people are going crazy already over the chests.
So the chest is kind of, I guess it's kind of suggested that it's like a Pandora's box. Like now that Edward Nichols has pursued it, it's now chaos will forever haunt the ship.
Chapter 4, The Calling. Second mate Nichols' band begins rowing their 2 boats toward the Canary Islands, but a group of mermaids attack the lifeboats, starting by spearing topman Li Hong in the chest.
So when we say mermaids, but we're
saying tails and everything, yeah.
We're seeing tails. Now, when you say mermaids, do we really mean like merfolk? Like there's mermaids and mermen?
Do not know the etymology of the mer people.
Merfolk.
And
Merfolk.
the artwork in this game is good for what it's trying to do, but it's intentionally not super detailed.
So it's kind of like a vague idea of people who swim in the ocean.
Yeah, you can see that there's a tail. You can see that there's boobs. Like
okay, so they're definitely female.
Yeah.
Okay. So these mermaids, legitimately mermaids, are warrior. They're Amazonian mermaids. They have no problem taking arms against other people.
Nichols takes cover in his boat, and nearly everyone dies at the hands of the mermaids, with seaman Patrick O'Hagan getting speared, Alexei Toporov and Alarkus Nikishin being drowned, and passenger Bunlan Lim getting her face clawed.
No! Oh, that's awful. I'd rather get a spear in the chest.
In the middle of the fight, passenger It Bangsia uses the spear that has impaled Hong to break free from his bonds, takes a knife from the bottom of the boat, and uses it to stab Samuel Galligan, Nichols' steward.
Ooh.
Sia then takes the shell and places it inside the chest, creating bright beams that stun the mermaids. But the action burns his arm to the bone and costs him his life.
So he saved the ship theoretically, but in turn touched something so powerful.
Nichols,
okay.
the only survivor, hauls the unconscious mermaids onto the boats. As he approaches the Obra Dinn and hails the ship, passenger Chiotan, at this point, the only surviving Formosan, shoots Nichols and kills him.
Yeah, you know what? Considering how things are going for him on this ship, he probably is just ready. He's just like, look, you're just a mess. You stay away.
Chapter 5, Unholy Captives. The captured mermaids and the corpses of Nichols, Lim, and Saya are hauled on board. Captain Wittrell has seaman...
Okay, so these people are okay with, like, taking captive these... Now, is this a universe where they know mermaids are a thing, and so this isn't super foreign to them, or is it, like, the mermaids are...
I don't actually know that.
Okay.
I didn't look that part up. The captured mermaids and the corpses of Nichols, Lim, and Saya are hauled on board. Captain Wittrell has seaman Hamadou Diam hold Tan for interrogation, with Huang Li, a Chinese topman, acting as translator. So a topman is kind of like when you set a crew aloft, you have like the most seasoned person is the topman.
Okay.
That's kind of what I got. I don't know if it's 100%.
The person in charge.
Yeah. With him acting as translator, Captain Wittrell interrogates Tan about the death of Nichols, the mermaids, the chest, and the dead Formosans. Basically, tell me what happened.
Right, exactly.
Tan is only able to say that the shell must be protected before one of the captured mermaids shoots a spike through him and Diam.
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, these mermaids are not, we're beautiful women, but with...
So it's not like kind of like how mermaids kind of got tied to the idea of sirens, where
Right.
they are they will lure you away in a charismatic, almost lustful sort of way. These are warrior mermaids. We have...
I don't think they look exactly, quote, beautiful either. I can't remember. I did see the artwork when I played the game, and this game is a little weird to play, too.
There was a great, and it's a very old manga about mermaids, where the idea of, like, yeah, there are beautiful mermaids, but most mermaids are actually really ugly. And if you eat mermaid flesh, you can become immortal, but there's only a 1% chance you become immortal in a pretty way. If you want to become a hellish, oh my god, almost... Cronenberg monster, you take the risk. So, yeah.
The mermaids, even as they are hauled down to the lazarette, prove dangerous. So a lazarette is like a storage locker at I believe the front of the ship.
Okay.
One of them slaps Thomas Sefton, the ship's cook, with its tail, and seaman William Wassam, one of the crewmen carrying the mermaid to the lazarette, falls down a flight of stairs, breaking his neck.
Yikes.
After the mermaids are secure in the lazarette, seaman John Naples is possibly tasked with guarding the door. It gets kind of foggy. Philip Dahl, Captain Whiterell's steward, is upset that the mermaids are being held and attempts to free them.
What?
And attacks Naples, cutting off his leg and resulting in his death.
This guy watched that Mermaids mockumentary on Animal Planet and was totally duped into thinking that was accurate. P.S. I watched that, and for a while I was like, I can kind of see where somebody would get to it. And then there was this one piece of footage where it was very obviously CGI, and I was like, okay, I'm done. There's no way this is real.
Captain Whiterell, surprised that his steward of 20 years would do such a terrible thing, brings boatswain Alfred Clystel and his Frenchman, boatswain's mate Charles Miner, with him to interrogate Dahl. Dahl attempts to warn them that mermaids are cursed and urges that they should be thrown back into the sea, but he gets hauled into the lazarette and shackled to the floor.
With them?
Yeah.
With the mermaids?
Yeah.
What? Wait. This feels like this is going to be the scene with all the sleigh dogs in The Thing. That's what it feels like. Except the opposite. Instead of one monster killing all the dogs, it'll be all the monsters killing the one person.
Right. Chapter 6, Soldiers of the Sea. After these events, the ship turns around and heads back toward England.
Fair
Shortly
point.
after the ship comes about, however, a storm strikes.
Convenient.
Topman Huang Li is struck by lightning while working in the rigging.
Yeah, that's a thing that would happen. At least he got a death that was, somewhat
Ship-related and not...
ship-related. Not like, oh no, I put a shell in a box and suddenly I lost flesh.
Yeah.
Like,
At the same time, mysterious humanoid creatures mounted on giant crabs board the ship.
oh, he missed out on that part. I'm really happy for our top man.
I love
right
how
there.
that goes from struck by lightning while working in the rigging. Okay, left turn, giant mysterious humanoid creatures on crabs. Like
Crab people. Crab people. This was a thing that my friend and I, before we get into our StarCraft stuff with Mystic, we would like
back when we used to play StarCraft.
When we-
Unfortunately, we're never able to cover those games.
Yeah, no. And this was StarCraft, the original one.
Brood War,
Brood War, excuse me.
which was the expansion.
It was the expansion of the original one. But anyway, we were playing LAN. We're all there. But
Right.
it was this joke that which one of us was going to type crab people and then literally finish the lyrics. Look like crabs, talk like people. It's so dumb, but
You still
I love
do
it.
that in some games when we play too.
Yes, I do. And when he's playing with us, this
Yeah.
friend, it makes sense. I think we got his wife in on it too.
Yeah,
I don't
a little
know.
bit. So, creatures on giant crabs board the ship.
Yeah, okay, so we've gotten even worse than mermaids. Mermaids, I'm like fantastical, but it's a good fantastical. But crab people, now I'm like, okay, is this why the mermaids are like violent? Because they have to fight off crab people, and they're like, you look like half crab person.
Right.
I don't know.
They attack and kill more of the crew while making their way to the belly of the ship. Whether their agenda is to capture the shells or the mermaids is unclear.
Why not both?
They spear topman Nicholas Botterill on the main deck, spike Carpenter's mate Marcus Gibbs, decapitating surgeon's mate James Wallace, and topman G Zhang.
This is super violent. Like,
the
this is
Orlop
one
deck.
of the most violent episodes we've covered,
Yeah.
and we've dealt with some pretty intense series.
Yeah, there's going to be a warning. I should put a warning at the beginning of this one.
Yeah.
Midshipman Charles Hirschstick, one of the crewmen fighting the crab riders, manages to kill one by throwing a lantern at it, but he burns to death along with it. Which,
Yikes.
fair. Like,
Yeah.
Henry Evans, the ship's surgeon, as we talked about at the beginning,
Yeah.
attempts to remove the ship's butcher O'Farrell from a wall. Unfortunately, it kills him in the process. Not the doctor, kills O'Farrell. The second crab
Yeah.
rider is close behind. Miner attempts to shoot it, but accidentally shoots the ship's steward, Zungi Sati, who, unbeknownst to everyone, crawled behind a wall after being spiked earlier. So, yeah.
Man.
The crew pursues the crab raider to the cargo deck, and Winston Smith, the ship's carpenter, shoots and kills the other crab rider with a blunderbuss as it is spearing him to death. There's a lot of death in this one.
There's a lot of, like, Why would you go to the sea if this is what's waiting for you? Like, if this is a known thing, it's one thing to think back to the times when we were first getting into maritime culture, where there are all these ideas of why ships don't return, and we think, oh, there's giant squid out there, there's crushing ships and other fantastical beasts. That makes sense to me. But we now are in a world where technically we know these things are real. I'm keeping my butt on land. Like, I just don't need that right now.
Chapter 7. The Doom.
The Doom?
Surviving the Crab Raider.
Wait. Tell me that title again.
The Doom.
We haven't gotten to the Doom yet. The crab people murdering half of the surviving crew is not the Doom? Is everybody going to just get... Speaking of giant creatures, is everybody going to get eaten by a squid now? The Kraken is revealed. This is when the Kraken comes out?
Surviving the Crab Rider attack, 3 crewmen, Seaman Alexander Booth, Nathan Peters, and Purser Duncan McKay, decide to escape in one of the boats.
Okay, so
Took them long enough.
Okay, so
when Seaman Lars
they
Linde,
noped out of that.
Yeah, when Seaman Lars Linde asks to join the group, Peters refuses and clubs Linde for killing his brother Samuel, back in Chapter 1.
Oh. Okay.
In spite of Linde and Booth's protest that the death was accidental. It was.
Right. Yeah, okay. It reminded me what happened with that death. How did that happen?
That was rigging collapsed and a pallet fell on somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. The very understandable but unfortunate death. Yeah.
West of Madeira, a Kraken attacks the ship.
How did I know? How did I know? They should have reversed it. They should have done the Kraken first and then the crab people. Be like, mermaids, okay. Kraken, all right, we've heard in stories. Crab people, now you're just out of your mind. Now this is just a fever dream.
This caused the death of 16 further crewmen, those being artist Edward Spratt, who was strangled by the Kraken, seaman Abraham Akbar, who was crushed by the Kraken, seaman George Shirley, who was pulled or shot out of the window and drowned by the Kraken. Basically,
Yikes.
Was he pulled or was he pushed?
Right.
Gunner Christian Wolf, who was shot by a cannon by the Kraken, which is actually impressive.
Wait, how did the
just gripped it and just shot? I don't know.
Wait, I just don't like the idea of a Kraken coming in with
I have arms and stuff, but I'm gonna pick up this cannon and shoot you.
Well, yeah, it's like popping caps. I can't deal with this. This makes no sense.
Third mate Stewart Roderick Anderson, who was crushed by a loose cannon. Midshipman Peter Milroy, who was caught in an explosion. Topman Omen Gull, who fell overboard.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Topman Maba, who was torn in half by the Kraken.
No! This is awful! Can I just drown? I'd rather just drown.
Meanwhile, those of the crew that had escaped in a lifeboat, Seaman Nathan Peters, Alexander Booth, and Purser Duncan McKay, we talked about them, all fell overboard and drowned when the Kraken flung their lifeboat into the air.
Yes, that makes
sense. The captain's wife, passenger Abigail Host...
Wait, you let your wife on this ship? You knew where you were going, and you let your wife on. I'm sorry, Mystic. If I was gonna do a dangerous mission in the ocean, you're not coming with. You stay home, and you hope I'm coming back. What the heck is this?
The captain's wife, passenger Abigail Hoscott Whitetrell, who stepped out to look for her husband, was crushed by falling rigging, and helmsman Finley Dalton and topman Whaley were pulled into the sea and drowned, and bosun's mate Charles Miner was torn apart. The survivors after the attack make only a skeleton crew.
Of course! You've had mermaids, which you brought on the ship for some dumb reason.
No,
wait,
you also had murder before the mermaids even happened.
Okay, so wait, let's get through this. The accident and then the men dying of disease. That's to be expected for the time and the place that we were in. The
murder,
the mutiny essentially, the mutiny / well, I wouldn't call it like mutiny, but like essentially
the murder
and the turncoat situation there. That was a little less likely, but also understandable because
humans,
people be greedy.
Yeah.
You get to the mermaids. Why did you not? You should have noped back home.
They did, but then the crab riders came on board.
Okay. You didn't nope back home fast enough. Apparently. Wait, and also, why did you bring the mermaids onto the ship That could be the whole reason why the crab people were there. The crab people were like, you stole our wives. What's wrong with you? Or you stole our girlfriends. That could be it. It could be the crab people were like, we have an alliance with the mermaids. The mermaids is like, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if it was like kind of like an Austria-Germany thing, just because we're coming out of our last episode talking about World War I and World War II.
Right.
What if like the mermaids were the paper tiger, and then the crab people are like Germany, and they're like, hey, we're the real guns. We're coming in here. We're taking our mermaids. What's wrong with you? Like you went back home, but you took the dangerous element with you. I just don't get that. And then there's a kraken.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, I would be tempted if I. Excuse me, I might brush my mouth. If I was surviving on that ship after that with a skeleton crew, I'd be kind of like,
Keep in mind, the Kraken's not gone yet.
Can we like all shoot ourselves in the head? Like, it's like, all right, I lived a good life. This was too much excitement for one lifetime. Let's hope the next one's better. Peace out. Like, I don't know. There'd be part of me that want to give up. Like,
Chapter 8.
Sorry, that was really dark.
This is gonna get darker.
No!
Chapter 8. Bargain. Inside the Lazarette, Captain Stuart Dahl breaks free from the handcuff. He's not chained to the floor anymore.
Wait, are the mermaids still there?
Yeah.
Are they still alive?
Some. He opens the chest and pulls out the shell from it. He burns off his arm and dies, finding the chest full of unknown substance that resembles mercury.
Why?
And you can actually
why wouldn't you know that happened to the last dude who did that?
And you can actually hear him like reach in and his realization of what's happening. It's terrible.
Okay, whoever acted it out is probably brilliant. I'm not playing this game too much farther because I'm gonna lose my mind.
You're gonna play your 1 hour and that's it, right?
It's gonna be done. And then you know what? I think there's nothing wrong with admitting to yourself that some media is not for you. This is not for me.
During the Kraken attack, Captain Wittrell deduces that the mermaids are responsible, so he enters the Lazarette, and kills off 2 of them in the hopes that they will call off the attack.
Wait.
He takes 2 shells.
Why don't you just toss them overboard?
He takes 2 shells and possibly throws them overboard. We don't quite know that. But this is not confirmed. Whether the shells or the last remaining mermaid calls off the Kraken, the attack stops, and this storm that it created subsides.
Wait, you think the mermaids have called it? Why do you need to keep the mermaids? Do we even understand why
they want to make a documentary?
No documentary is worth this much pain.
Later, third mate Merton Parrott and stewards Paul Moss and Davy James enter the Lazarette and come across the 3rd shell in Dahl's hands.
Oh, wait, he kept it. It was still in his hands as he
died. He died within his hands. Parrott gets spiked before he could assure the mermaid that he had come to set it free. Mortally wounded, he orders the stewards to give the mermaid the shell, throw the beast overboard, and lock the door to the Lazarette as they leave. He also asked the mermaid to see the Obra Dinn home.
It's a lot to ask of her. I think that's a lot to ask of her.
Even later, Moss finds the ship's surgeon, Henry Evans, attempting to enter the Lazarette when the key has already been disposed of.
Interesting.
Aware of the functionality of the pocket watch, and assuming that the East India Company will use the watch to investigate the ship should it ever make it back to port, Evans ties his pet monkey to a rope.
I'm sorry, what?
Kills it in the Lazarette and keeps its paw.
That monkey deserved better.
We'll get there.
That monkey deserves so much better.
There is a reason. It's not just...
I think I have an idea of why he's doing it, but that monkey deserves better.
Chapter 9, Escape.
Why am I so mad about the monkey?
Because it's the only innocent in this so far, for the most part.
That and
everyone
the wife.
Else, yeah. Everyone else. Okay, there are other innocents. That's a miss.
That and the wife. Yeah, I mean, at least the mermaids were like violent, and the crab people were violent. The Kraken was violent, and then it was a bunch of blundering humans.
It's his pet monkey. That's the thing. It's his pet monkey.
Yeah, the monkey trusted you, sir. To a certain extent.
It's like everyone died. Like humanity is ruined, but people get upset over the dog. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the whole John Wick series just based around dogs.
Chapter 9, Escape. Now north of Madeira, 4th mate John Davies helps the dying boatswain Alfred Kleistel to a chair in the gun deck. Davies tells him that his Frenchman was torn apart and that the Kraken went away with the storm thanks to Captain Wittrell. Shortly after, Kleistel dies of blood loss.
Ooh.
Gunner's mate Ollis Whiter expresses doubts of Captain Whitetrail's trustworthiness. He broaches the subject of mutiny with Davies, planning to take over the ship and sell the wretched fish and shells.
Oh.
Thomas Lanke, the only surviving midshipman at this point, overhears the conversation and panics, alerting the crewmen of mutiny. Whiter gives chase and stabs Lanke in the back for his trouble.
Yeah, don't be saying stuff like that out loud after everything that's happened.
Meanwhile, on the main deck, Evans, James Moss, and passengers Emily Jackson and Jane Bird attempt to leave the ship on the last remaining boat. But Leonid Volkov, a Russian topman, catches the group and attacks, getting into a sword fight with Moss. Despite the intervention of Captain Whitetrail, First Mate William Huscott, Seaman Henry Brennan, and topman Lewis Walker, Volkov stabs Moss, killing him.
Yikes.
He proceeds to try to attack the others, but Jackson quickly shoots him, killing him.
Yeah, again, it's just everything is so stressful and extreme.
Unaware of the shot fired on the main deck, Davies attempts to stop Whiter from further harming the mortally wounded Lanke, reaching for Whiter's gun. During the scuffle, the gun blows off Whiter's face.
Oh!
The dust-up catches the attention of First Mate Huscott, who rushes to the dying Lanke's aid, and Seaman Brennan, who clubs Davies, wrongly believe that Davies killed Whiter on purpose.
Wow. So it's just essentially a bunch of high-strung people freaking out.
I would be too.
And their fight instinct is suddenly just coming forward. It is definitely a horror movie. Definitely.
As Huscott tends to the dying Lanke, Lewis Walker throws Volkov's body overboard. The boat carrying Jackson, Bird, James, and Evans is gone. And
Wow.
Captain Whitetrail slumps over, utterly defeated.
Of course. Yeah.
Chapter 10. The End. After an indeterminate amount of time has passed, First Mate Huscott, Seaman Brennan, and Topman Walker all turn on Captain Whitetrail and attempt to extort the shells, but he says he has thrown them overboard.
Okay.
The crewmen do not buy the explanation and attack him. The captain is forced to kill them all in self-defense.
Whoa.
He shoots Huscott with a gun, slits Brennan's throat, and clubs Walker in the head, who has already stabbed his knife into the captain's right side.
Ooh.
Overcome with grief, Captain Whitetrail sits beside his wife's body, laments the death of Huscott, and asks for her forgiveness before shooting himself.
Yeah, that's fair. That's awful. But if I was in his position, I don't see a lot of their options. Either
This is how you end up with 60-plus people dead.
Yeah.
5 years later, in 1807, the Obra Dinn drifts back to port at Falmouth, and you are given the catalog and the pocket watch, both of which Surgeon Henry Evans mailed to the East India Company from Morocco.
I'm sorry? How?
He escaped, remember?
Okay, yeah.
He was on the ship.
He was on the ship
one of the
with
four
four.
people who, yeah.
Okay.
The inspector completes the investigation and leaves the ship as the weather is about to get bad. After leaving, the Obra Dinn sinks in the storm.
Okay.
The inspector then prepares a full insurance assessment for the East India Company and mails the book to Henry Evans. He had asked for it. Roughly a year later, Surgeon Henry Evans dies in Africa due to an illness. And one of the surviving passengers, Jane Bird, sends the inspector a letter about how Evans felt about the inspector's performance. In gameplay terms, there's two ways you can have theory. It's not theory, it's something else, but basically you can have a theory of what happened, and then if you solidify it with other memories or whatever, or other deaths, it becomes solid fact.
Okay.
So if you solidify all these facts and confirm them, Bird sends the catalog back to the inspector and the monkey paw.
Wow.
Because there's one thing that we never saw, and that's what happened inside the lazarette. Everything is not confirmed there. So if you do enough stuff, you get the monkey paw. With the monkey paw, you can actually see the death of the the death of the monkey in the lazarette and inspect
Now,
it.
symbolically, this is a monkey paw.
Yes.
So, do you really want to know?
Right. The story ends as the inspector places the fully completed catalog, now that they have the monkey paw and can see the final scene, on the bookshelf.
Dare I ask? Wait, did you already say what the final scene is? What happened in the lazarette, or?
We covered it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in there. That's how we know what happened in the lazarette. It's just, in the game, you don't know until you get that monkey paw.
Right, because everything's piecemeal out of time.
Right.
But in time, you know that.
If we go chronologically.
In the lazarette, you know about the grabbed shell and all that. Okay. Yeah, I figured there was a reason for it, but that monkey still deserved better.
So this was a dark one.
Jeez.
A little dark.
A little. A little.
I'm trying to think of what
darker than a moonless night. I just need to recover from the fact that's a gay, like, that is a twisted story. Wow, that's such a dark story. And also, why crab people?
Well, they're not crab people. They're humanoid creatures riding crabs.
Humanoid creatures riding crabs. Okay, I'm sorry. I keep thinking crab people, but you're right. I'm the one who inserted the idea of crab people in there. But still, crab riders. Like, that's still just too much. I don't know. It just feels so fantastical.
Yeah. Well, I said Pirates of the Caribbean, just a lot more death. Which is
Pirates
saying
of the
something.
Caribbean, not done by Disney. That's what you should have said. That's insane. Okay.
So this game only showed up on my radar because I kept looking for games like Abduction or like Myst, and it kept popping up in those lists. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out.
But
It looks
I
weird.
wouldn't
Like,
even say it's like that because,
in
sure.
In gameplay terms, the exploration aspect of it, I feel, is.
Okay.
But in story terms, definitely not.
No.
Yeah.
No, story and like the kind of universe it's building too.
Yeah. We may do a few more dark games, but...
Well, we'll give you a warning before it happens because sometimes we want to be a place for nostalgia. Like, if you're like, oh, I want to show my kids why I like this game growing up. Great. We love being that for you. We also love doing this too, even though it's super dark and you probably shouldn't let your kids listen to this episode. This is awful.
That's why there's a warning at the beginning.
This is awful. You know, I thought we were going to be sad enough with the people dying of, like, lung sickness. In the middle of a pandemic, that's a lung sickness. I already thought that was a touchy subject, and now here we are. Here we are with actual, like, full-on, like, NC-17 violence.
And that's where we'll leave you today.
Great. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody.
Thank you for listening.
We'll do the live stream of this the Thursday after this is released, and before that,
you'll be diving into Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which is also such a cheery game.
At least Everybody's Gone to the Rapture has a lot less murder.
Fair.
A lot less murder.
Fair. Anyway, we'll leave it there.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.